to tighten their computer security after they've been hit by a hacking operation described as the worst in American history. More than 40 organizations have been targeted, including the U.S. Energy, Defense, State, and Homeland Security departments. Software giant Microsoft also confirmed it's been affected by the ongoing cyber attack. The hacking operation was uncovered last week, but investigators believe it's been going on for months. U.S. officials suspect it's carried out by Russian hackers and warned of the grave risk it poses to government and private networks. The cybersecurity agency says it'll be hard to undo the damage done to what it describes as the critical infrastructure of federal departments. President Donald Trump has so far remained silent on the matter, while President-elect Joe Biden vowed to deal with the breach as soon as he takes office next month. Russia has rejected accusations that it's behind the cyber attack, with Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warning Americans not to unfoundly blame the Russians for everything. During his annual news conference on Thursday, President Vladimir Putin did not elaborate on the recent hack, but reiterated Russia never interfered with U.S. internal affairs.
The Russian hackers did not help get the incumbent president elected and did not interfere into the internal affairs of this great power. These are all hoaxes and pretexts to worsen the relations between Russia and the United States.
In recent years, the United States has repeatedly accused Russian intelligence of launching cyber attacks on international institutions. An investigation during the 1990s pointed the finger at Moscow for hacking several government agencies, including NASA and the Pentagon, for 3 years. Dubbed the Moonlight Maze attack, officials say the data breach was so enormous that if all the stolen documents were piled up, it would be 3 times the height of the Washington Monument. Between 2015 and 2016, both the CIA and FBI say Russian hackers penetrated Democratic Party computers and gained access to personal emails in a bid to help Donald Trump defeat Hillary Clinton in the election. Since then, Russia has also been accused of disrupting elections in other countries, including Finland, Germany, and the UK. The Kremlin dismisses the allegations, calling them groundless and a witch hunt. All right, for more on this, I'm joined by our guests. In Washington, D.C., Jody Westby, Chief Executive of Global Cyber Risk and Chair of the American Bar Association Privacy and Computer Crime Committee. In Moscow, Vladimir Sotnikov, a specialist on Russian foreign affairs and political analyst at the Russia Academy of Sciences. And in New York, Karen Greenberg, director at the Center on National Security at Fordham University School of Law. She's also host of the Vital Interest podcast. Jody, let me start with you today. How grave a threat is this attack to the United States federal government, and how exactly was it accomplished?
I think the threat is the greatest we've seen so far, so it's at the highest level. The attack was accomplished by compromising the software signature process for SolarWinds. Their Orion software and malware was sent out through SolarWinds as a software update. It went to about 18,000 government and public sector entities and private sector companies. So about 18,000 organizations globally could have downloaded this malware in the software update.
Karen, how is this attack different from previous hacks?
Yeah, I think it's, I think to just underscore what Jody just said, the scope is incredibly vast. It affects not just agencies across the government in a way we haven't seen before, but also it has, affected the private sector as well. And let me just underscore something else is, we actually don't know how vast this is yet. This is just the beginning of the forensic investigation of this. So in its vastness, its scope, and its direct attack on government agencies, it's much different than anything we've seen before.
Vladimir, from your vantage point, what's your response? I mean, what do you make of the accusations that Russia was behind this attack?
Well, actually, no, this is nothing new in these accusations because, as far as I'm concerned, I remember that almost 2 years ago from now, these accusations appeared in the press and on the behalf of the United States that Russian hackers, even not in the territory of Russian Federation, but also somewhere in some exotic islands, were hacking US governmental institutions and organizations. I don't think that there is a special purpose for Russian government to hack American governmental computer systems, even with the latest cutting-edge software. And I don't think that these accusations are actually true, because this is a mere politics, actually. This is just to press on Russia, because Russia actually is under sanctions. And this is really a process of the new Cold War, when the two parties actually are accusing each other of intruding into one's other internal affairs. So I don't think these accusations actually, to cut the long story short, are really taking place.
Jody, in the past few years, the U.S. government has spent tens of billions of dollars on cyber offensive abilities. I mean, it's astounding that this attack was able to go undetected as long as it did, isn't it?
It's a very, very sophisticated attack. And so that's certainly one of the reasons that it's indicated as a nation-state attack. It was highly sophisticated. Once the malware entered the system, it sat dormant for a couple of weeks. It had the capabilities. It was at the core access of the operations, because it was network monitoring software. Therefore, it could turn off settings, turn on settings, create credentials. It could do a lot of things. It was storing some of its data, some of its activities inside the actual software files, so it was less likely to be detected. So it operated in quite a high stealth mode, and also in a way that was very difficult to detect, and it will be difficult to eradicate.
Karen, you heard Jody talk there about the type of malware that was used and how difficult it was to detect. And it's not just really about the malware at this point now, is it? It's also about backdoors that have been placed in these systems by which these hackers may still be able to continue to access these systems for who knows how long, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, even if they stop what they can detect now, what do they do about what's already there and inside the system? So that is incredibly concerning. But, you know, for years, and particularly in the past couple of years, cybersecurity experts inside and outside of government have been calling for ramping up defensive strategies for cyber, and talking about the vulnerability writ large of not having mechanisms in place, reporting systems in place. So this is a warning sign of just where our vulnerabilities are and what defenses we've let slide in recent years. So it's one thing trying to address this particular attack and its scope, and it's another thing thinking about how to prevent anything like this happening in the near or far term.
Vladimir, what happens now going forward with the U.S.-Russian relationship? You have a new administration coming in. You have now these accusations that Russia is behind this massive, massive hack on the U.S. government and private enterprise in the U.S. Where does it take things?
Well, actually, first of all, let me ask my esteemed colleagues from the United States just one small question. For what purpose? Russian hackers or Russian government needs to have been hacking the U.S. computer systems for the consecutive almost 2 years or even more? So what is the purpose? Because at the same time, Russia can accuse the United States of hacking the Russian sensitive organizations and security agencies' computer systems. So what is the purpose of all of that? Who actually the winner of all these arguments, actually? And regarding the future relations, from the new administration of president-elect, and now he was confirmed as a president who won the elections, Mr. Joseph Biden. I don't think that there will be much change in the bilateral relations between the United States and the Russian Federation, because the mistrust and the years of the animosity, especially after the Ukraine events, have been doing their bad thing. And these accusations of hacker attacks, actually, this is another story which actually made its contribution to the worsening of the overall relationship between the United States and America. Almost every day we heard here in Moscow and in international mass media that there is one story or another story in the United States which is surfaced that Russia is behind that, Russia is behind this. Who actually do we know this? We need good relations, and President Putin said that we need just to maintain normal, stable, and working relationship with the United States, especially with the new administration of President Joseph Biden. So I don't think that Biden will actually deviate from these accusations in the near future. This is my point.